What do you remember about your grandparents?
I, what I remember about my grandparents, what I know about my grandparents is that my grandfather and my grandmother came over from Sicily.
Where?
What do you mean, where?
What city were they at?
They came to Memphis.
Where they came from? Palermo?
Well, my grandfather was Ciaramitaro Sr. My grandmother was from Palermo.
Palermo, and where was your grandfather at?
From Terracini.
Terracini. Okay. What was your grandmother's maiden name?
Her name was Dorothea Tormina. And my grandfather's name was Joseph Ciaramitaro.
Okay.
And they met in this country and hit it off and got married. And they had 10 or 11 children. I don't remember how many.
Whoa, that's a lot.
But my grandfather used to sell vegetables. He'd get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, get his horse and wagon, travel about 5 miles. Travel about 5 miles to the market, buy his vegetables, and then sell his vegetables during the day.
Off a wagon?
A wagon, horse and wagon.
Where was he at? St. Louis?
No, Memphis.
Memphis. So how did he get to Memphis?
From Italy.
Oh, so they ended up in Memphis from Italy.
Right.
They have family there?
He had a brother. I think his name was Vince Ciaramitaro. And he lived over on Washington Street, down the street from the market. And he, I think he had 8 or 10 children. I don't remember.
Wow.
And some of them lived in Memphis. Some of them had moved to California. Some had moved to some other places, Detroit. And my aunts, they used to, my Aunt Katie and Aunt Rosie and Aunt Philippa, they all worked for, that's the best I remember, Bemis Bag Company. They used to sew up these bags, I don't know, that they used to fill up corn or wheat or what have you.
So I see.
Yeah. And they were all hard workers. My grandfather had a rule that they could stay out as late as they want, but they come back home, they had to sleep on the porch. Because he couldn't come in and disturb him. And he would get up at 3 o'clock and get his horse and wagon together and drive down to Washington to get his vegetables for the day. And also he'd also have a bottle of homemade wine that he made for his lunch every day. And he had a route, I don't know where the route was, but he always ended up with my dad's store, and we would talk and he would have his cheese, hunk of cheese, bread, and his wine. And then when he got through eating, he'd move on his way, and he'd put some of his vegetables on his way home. And I guess it's about 8 miles or so, maybe 10. That he had to go from Webster all the way to Macklemore, where they live. So
Really?
That's what they did.
That sounds.
And the family periodically, the family would get together, and we'd all celebrate it like Christmas or New Year's, one of them. And I remember one time we all went to midnight mass. My dad sat in the confessional and fell asleep because he worked every morning at 5 o'clock. We finally woke him up and went to communion, went to St. Patrick's Church downtown. And then everybody came over to our house. And my uncles and aunts, they were good drinkers. They liked to drink
What do they like to drink? Wine?
as alcohol, straight drinks.
That's good.
They were. That we didn't do that every year, but we did it several years. And one year I remember is we were all upstairs over the store.
So you lived above the store. You lived above your store.
Yeah, that's where we lived. And they were all up there and they were drinking and shooting dice.
They shoot dice.
Yeah. And having a great time. Everybody was having lots of fun. And an ice storm came in while we were doing that. And so nobody went home. Everybody slept on the floor or whatever. I remember everybody was having a run on going to the bathroom. But everybody was happy and jovial. My Uncle Rogers, he was a card. He'd always kid everybody. That's Billy Rogers and Jimmy Rogers' father. And then Aunt Rosie and Uncle Ike. Aunt Rosie was the quiet one. Uncle Ike he was quiet, but he drank his alcohol. I don't remember Uncle Vince drinking much. I know Uncle Johnny didn't.
Uncle Johnny used to bring his fish.
Well, Uncle Johnny had an experience. He went to Comer, Alabama, and was going to become a brother. And when he had to find out all the things he had to do and all the fasting and all the other stuff, he said he just couldn't do it. So he came back home. But he was down there where they had all those reproduction of Israel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now, your dad and mother was what was their names?
What do you mean, what was the name?
What was their name? I know their name, but what?
My mom's name was Angie.
What was her maiden name?
And my dad's name was Joseph.
No, what was your mom's maiden name?
Mercurio.
Mercurio.
Some people use it, D Mercurio, and some of them just Mercurio.
Where is she from?
Huh?
Where is she from? Her family from?
St. Louis.
Were they from Sicily?
Her family was from Palermo.
Palermo?
Dad's family is from Terracina.
Gotcha. Did you ever meet her grandparents?
Do what?
You ever meet her grandparents?
Yeah. Every Sunday.
What was their names?
Grandfather's grandparents?
Mm-hmm.
No. I never met them.
No, her parents.
Huh?
Your grandparents from her side.
I don't understand your question.
Okay, your mom and dad. Your mom was Joe, and your grandfather was Joe.
No, my dad was Joe.
I know, but your grandfather. Who's your grandfather?
His was Giuseppe.
Joe.
Yeah.
And what was your grandmother's name? Great.
Dorothea.
Okay, now what's your grandma? What's your mother's? What's her grandparents' name?
My mother's grandparents.
Yeah.
My mom's dad was D. Mercurio.
Right. What was it?
And he worked for the railroad. And he lived where the Capitol Arena is now. That's where he used to live.
Really? What was his name?
I don't remember.
What was your grandma's name?
Which grandpa?
Your grandma from your mom's side.
Well, he had two wives. The first wife died, and he needed someone to take care of the children. So he married another lady called Pepina, Josephine.
Gotcha. Okay. Now your mom and your dad. Tell me about them.
Well, what happened? I think what I remember, somebody just tell. I got it in a book somewhere. It's written down at home, but anyway, it's mom and dad met at a wedding or something, and they hit it off. And but mom says, "I can't leave St. Louis. I love St. Louis. I'm not going to leave St. Louis." So Dad said, "Well, I guess if that's the case, I have to move to St. Louis." And so he moved to St. Louis, and he worked for his uncle. His uncle was called Sabetta. I don't know what that means, but his uncle had a grocery store, and Dad was a butcher. Dad made $7 a week. And he lived in Savetta's house, which was above his house. Savetta had a 2-story.
In St. Louis.
Yeah, and we, but this 2-story house, you had to go to the bathroom, you had to go down these steps, concrete pathway, and an outhouse back there. So we used swamp jars until they got full. Then you had to go. Then you had to go to the outhouse, and the outhouse was on the alley because the garbage truck would come through the alley and pick up the garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side of the outhouse was an orphanage. I don't remember the name of it, but there was an orphanage that had.
In St. Louis?
Yeah.
You used to live in St. Louis?
Yeah.
And you moved to Memphis?
Well, that's a story too. What happened is, Mom was living in St. Louis, and Grace, Mom's sister, came to visit her in St. Louis. And she was talking to her about moving to Memphis. She said, she said something like, you're never going to have anything if you live here. You're going to starve to death. And you're going to be under the control of his uncle. And you're really not going to have anything that you own yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So her aunt's name was Favazza, because she had married this Favazza. And the Favazzas, that's another story.
What's that story?
That's the Favazzas were not really honest people.
Gangsters?
They were well, to make a buck, they would do anything.
Huh. Okay. So, what about your mom?
Hello? Came in. I don't know how all this worked out, but I vaguely remember some of the things that happened. I remember Sabetta had 3 sons, or 4 sons. Tommy, Sam, Dylan Moore, and a daughter, Dora. Dora was a handicap. But Sam and Dylan Moore they weren't close. So they had a lot of differences, but they were good people.
Okay, so your dad had a store.
No,
He had a grocery store.
my dad worked for his uncle, but Aunt Grace convinced Mama and Dad to move to Memphis, and she found a store for him. And Grace did a lot of things with Mom to set us up in business. And we rented this building. We rented the downstairs and the upstairs. But the upstairs had people in it, black people lived upstairs. And the guy's name was Aaron. And he was a very good person. He and I used to go fishing all the time at Como.
In Como?
Yeah. And the other thing is that my Uncle Johnny and Uncle Tony, they would always go fishing.
They used to bring us fish all the time.
They used to bring us fish all the time. And Mom used to say, I don't want to clean that fish.
They bring a lot of fish.
Yeah.
A lot of crappie.
But they were crocodiles and they were good.
Yeah, they were good fishermen.
Very tasty.
They were good.
And
I remember cleaning those fish.
that when Aaron and his family moved out, Dad says, well, I'm going to fix the upstairs. So he tore all the walls out, put all new plaster walls on it, and made it real nice. And we had, I think we had 2 bathrooms in
Did you ever buy the store? Your
there.
dad bought the store?
Oh, yeah, he owned it. He bought it the store.
He bought the building.
Yeah.
Okay. And he ran the store.
Yeah, him and Mom.
He was a butcher.
Yeah.
Okay. And what'd your mom do? She took care of the house?
No, she took care of the store too. She was just as good a store person as my dad was.
Oh, she had a good personality. I remember her.
Yeah.
She was a card. You couldn't get nothing past her.
She was a smart lady.
Yes.
We used to have, you go from the store and you go down to the back and we had a coal oil machine.
A what?
Coal oil. We used to sell oil up for lamps and what have you.
Uh-huh.
And people would come in and buy it. And then from there you'd walk into the kitchen. And from the kitchen you walk into the back, and the bathroom's back there. And the bed, well, Mom's dad's bedroom was on the other side of the thing, and my bedroom was next to theirs. I didn't have a whole bedroom, I really had a half bedroom. But it was okay.
Where did Aunt Dorothy live? Where'd she stay?
She was married by that time, I think.
She was married?
She met Larry. I'm trying to remember how that happened.
I know he went to the Army.
Yeah, I know he was in the Marines. He was a hitchhiker home. I think when we moved to Memphis.
Were they get married in St. Louis?
Oh, daughter?
Uh-huh.
No. We got married at the Marine base. And she came home. And Larry, well, he would hitchhike home. And then hitchhike back, people would pick him up because he was a Marine.
Yeah. So your dad ran a store and you sold coal oil in Memphis.
Yeah. And we had the kitchen right next to after you passed the coal oil machine. And a bathroom in the back. And a bedroom back, 2 bedrooms back.
Nice, good.
And in the backyard we used to raise chickens.
You used to raise chickens?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Well, people would come by and they'd buy a whole chicken.
Uh-huh.
And Dad would bring the neck,
Uh-huh.
chicken, and sell it to them. Then they'd have to clean the feathers off.
They do it themselves. He didn't do that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah. And we had a lot of nice people that helped Dad get started in the store.
So where'd you go to high school? Where'd you go to school at?
Who?
Were you?
I went to school at St. Thomas,
St. Thomas?
at grade school. And of course, Christian Brothers for high school.
High school? That's good.
Yeah. It was expensive. My dad had to pay for that.
Your dad worked and paid for it.
I guess to catch the bus to go to Christian Brothers. We were down there by Booker T. Washington School, and I'd catch the bus and they would take me all the way over to Parkway. And they would drop me off and I'd have to walk 2 blocks up to the school. when my Aunt Grace's son Frank was, he went to school there in Trinity. We sometimes would meet up and walk into classes. A couple times we were late and got chewed out by brother Richard, who was a big brother.
So you went to high school and college at Christian Brothers.
Yeah, it's Christian brother.
What'd you major in?
Accounting.
Accounting. And then what'd you do? You graduate.
Well, I graduated and started looking for a job, and I couldn't find one because everybody wanted me to join the Baptist church. If I wanted to go to work. And finally, this guy in Pittsburgh playing class hired me. And I learned all about glass and about accounting. And then while I was there, they promoted me to second man under the credit manager. And from there, I got a job with an insurance company.
I thought you were working in a butcher shop for a little while.
Well,
Didn't you work in a butcher shop for a little bit?
just in the store.
Huh?
Just in the store. I didn't do much special.
You didn't work in a butcher shop? I thought you were telling me one time your those cows that come over there like.
I worked in I spent one summer to pay for my tuition at Christian Brothers. My dad says, you need to earn your money for high school. And so this friend of my dad, this Jewish guy, got me a job at this meat packing house where we did the slaughter and everything. And that's where I got crashed in the head with one of those iron things that come across.
On them hooks?
Yeah, on those hooks. But I earned $750, I think, which was the tuition for Christian Brothers. And so I used that to pay for it.
Yeah, you just tell me they used to throw those big old cows on your back.
Yeah.
You can't drop them. You had to carry them. Yeah. Okay, so.
Oh yes, the biggest thing we used to do is the bulls. Bulls weighed about 750 pounds. And when they bring them into the warehouse, they would cut them and you could feel the soles of your shoes sink. And you walk into the place and bring it into the cooler and then put it on the thing. And once a week, the rabbi would come and he would kill beef. And those beef had to be killed a certain way and they had to be carried in a certain way and put on a hook a certain way. So it was a good experience. I think I learned a lot.
And then you worked for the glass company when you got out.
Well,
What'd you do there?
For Pittsburgh Glass. Yeah.
You sell glass or do you do accounting?
I was an accountant.
Okay, then you went to insurance.
And then after that I became assistant credit manager.
A credit manager?
I learned about a credit business. And then I went to insurance. And then my mom got me an interview with the IRS. I went into the IRS building.
I remember you sold insurance.
Yeah, I did it one time.
Sell insurance?
Yeah.
You didn't like doing that?
No. It's a thankless job.
Yeah, you got that right.
It was a tough job too. That was the other one.
Right. So you went to the IRS. What'd you do there?
Well, IRS is another story.
Yeah, it is.
Mom got me an interview with Memphis, and these three.
Well, how'd you meet Mom? Let's go there first. Okay, let's do your interview first. I'm sorry. Let's do your job. Sorry.
I lost my train.
So you got an interview with the IRS?
I had my interview with IRS, and the two other guys didn't want to pick me, but this one guy did. He liked what I said and the way I worked. So anyway, they hired me, and Mom and I went to Atlanta for 16 weeks.
I remember that.
We sat on those hard chairs. And we did that our Atlanta thing. And that's when Victor climbed the wall.
Yeah. We got up and jumped in that fountain.
Yeah.
I bet they were asking us to leave.
And y'all had made friends with the Jewish ambassador.
Oh, we did?
I think that's what it was. And across the street was a grocery store. And that's where Mom used to shop.
How'd you meet Mom? How'd you meet Mom?
What do you mean? How did
Your mother. I mean, your our mom. How'd you meet your wife?
she had been married several years by then.
Well, I know that, but before then, how'd you meet her?
I don't understand your question.
How'd you meet Mom?
I guess I was born at Our Lady Helper Christian Church. And she was my mother. What can I say?
Not your mother. I'm talking about Mom, my mom,
Huh?
your wife.
That's what I'm
And
talking about.
how'd you meet Mom?
I don't understand your question with me. I was born at Our Lady Helper Christian Hospital in St. Louis.
Okay.
And she brought me home.
How did you meet Mother, my mom, your wife?
That's what I'm saying.
You're telling me how you were born.
You know, you're born and you go home with your mom.
Right.
That's what I did.
I know. Okay. Let's talk about Annette. How'd you meet Mom?
I don't understand your question because
You were married. How'd you meet your married?
I wasn't married when I was born.
I know that. And I'm talking about when you were born. How'd you get married? How'd you meet Mom?
Your mother.
Yes.
Well, I had been going with a different number of girls.
How old were you?
And I don't remember.
You're in college? You work in the glass place? Where were you at?
I was making $300 a month. I remember that.
Where were you working?
Pittsburgh was.
Glass. Okay.
Met one of the Messina girls and had dated her. And but her family, I didn't really like her family. Felt uncomfortable with them because they always talked bad about people. It wasn't for me. And so I was I used to go to St. Patrick's Church, and Mom used to sing in the choir. And Francis Cole, my cousin, introduced us when we went bowling at a health club. And Francis was trying to get me to date Aunt Grace, but I just couldn't hit it off with Aunt Grace for some reason. And so one night I just asked Mom, let's go to dinner somewhere and then a movie. And we went to this fish place. And they had all different kinds of paper on the wall. and it later told me that she says, we went in that place, and I said, she was saying to herself, what is this place? This place looks like a dump. But it was an exclusive fish place. So we ate fish, and then we went to a movie, went to see North by Northwest.
Oh, I like that movie.
On Park Avenue at one of the Santiago movie houses. And but your mom and I were more alike. We sort of fit the pattern pretty good together and enjoyed each other's company. So we ended up, she was teaching at Catholic High School on Central Avenue. And I remember one time she says, I want you to come and talk to these young ladies, she says, because they're really talented ladies, but they don't want to put the effort out. So I went and had a talk with them. And of course they were saying, you don't know what you're talking about, all that stuff. But later they came back to me and said, thank you for the advice.
What did you tell them?
Well, I told them that they're disrespecting their family. And my mother and dad had worked hard, and they were paying something like $2,000 a year for them to go to a Catholic school, because it wasn't cheap back then. And I said, you shouldn't disrespect them that much. You should understand where they're coming from and what for and all this. And later on, they thanked me for the little talk.
No, that's good advice.
Yeah. There's so many things I did I can't remember.
What do you remember the most?
Huh?
What do you remember the most?
Can't hear.
What do you remember the most? What'd you like doing?
Well, I enjoyed IRS more than anything. It was more fun, more challenging. Had a lot of people that you had to learn their character and be able to understand them. Had a lot of men that had affairs with women, and nobody could tell them anything. But you learn how to deal with people, and you learn how to answer the questions, and also how to get them to think the way you think. Sometimes you do good, sometimes you don't. I've had, it's like when Larry, what's his name, from CI brought you over and got you the job there. And, he was something else, so he was a man of his own things. He didn't believe anybody could tell him what to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I remember.
Okay. Very good. Stop.